Hello everybody and thank you for joining me. This is Sierra from Sierra T Designs and today I have this cool card for visible image. So let's jump right in. So to create this card, it did take me a few steps and I struggled a little bit, but I think we got somewhere neat in the end. So I'm going to create my background to start and I have a piece of distress watercolor cardstock. I misted it with water before I put it in my Splat Box. And then I have 3 colors of sprays here. I have picked raspberry and salvaged patina distress spray stain. And then I also have flickering candle mica spray. You can't get that one anymore. It was a Halloween special, but I love it and it's in my stash, so I try to really use the things that I have. So I am creating a super vibrant background here, you can see. And I do have to heat set it because I really wanted to keep working and I knew that what I wanted to add on top of it was going to try to soak up all the color. So we are going to heat set this to kind of try to keep that color from sinking into everything else. But it is water soluble, so it is going to sink in regardless. But I don't really mind because it kind of works with the idea I have in the end. But this card originally, when I made this, you're going to see here a second, I'm going to heat emboss this with clear embossing ink. And this is the Teaparty stencil by Visible Image. And I'm going to heat set this with clear embossing powder. And I originally thought I might do a similar technique to when I added black across the panel with the butterflies a couple of weeks ago. That gave you this really cool distress resist technique. However, I loved the background so much that I didn't want to cover it up with black. And now, don't get me wrong, that would have been really neat as well. Because that technique always is stunning with vibrant colors, which is what I was going for here. But I couldn't make myself cover up the background. So I am going to continue with this and I'm going to heat emboss it here with the clear embossing powder. And I'm still on the train of doing that technique at this point. However, after I heat set this, I changed my mind. So we're going to heat set it and I'm going to make you watch because I love watching embossing powder melt. It's probably one of my favorite things. It's always so magical. It doesn't matter how many times I've done it. It still just is mind-bogglingly special to watch. So I'm going to show you embossing it because I love the look. And you can see how cool that looks. It's super shiny, really cool in the background. And then I'm going to change my mind right about here. So now I'm going to add some Snow Fall Distress Grit Paste. You can still get this, I believe. It was a Christmas special by Tim Holtz, but I'm pretty sure you can still get it. And this is a grit paste that has glitter in it. Now, the problem is that I think that it's supposed to be white. However, it pretty much came out clear because I think I had it on a bit too thin. So you're going to see in a second that it's covered all over the background and you can see it. However, when I lift this up, when you see it when it's dry, you can't see it. So now I have a really cool background that has all this great texture that you can't see. So I had to change gears again, which is totally okay. I kind of wound up with this really neat mixed media-esque vibrant card. So I like how it turned out in the end. I think it's really pretty. But here you can see that you cannot see any of the texture in the background. I can. In person, you can see it. But in the film, you can't see it. So to kind of combat that, I ended up adding some white distress paint to the top. That's picket fence. And I'm going to mist it with a bunch of water to kind of get it to drip down. Now, keep in mind, again, as I told you, these inks are water soluble. So they're going to shift, which was not my intention. However, it does create a cool effect, but it was not my intention. So I pounce in a little more of that white paint and then I kind of add it to the top of the teacups to kind of get them to stick out a little better. And then I'm going to heat set this and kind of keep going with different ideas because this didn't quite go the way I had planned it to. Not that I don't like the drips. They're really cool. It's just, once again, you can't really see the texture in the background. So we're going to switch gears again. So I do heat set this so that it's completely dry so that I can keep trying different techniques on top until I'm kind of happy with how it looks. And I did use a flat brush for this. I'm going to use a flat brush for the next step as well. And anything I use is always linked and listed down below if you're ever interested in anything I use. Or if you have any questions, please leave them for me. I'm more than happy to answer all of your comments and questions. Sometimes it takes me a little bit to get back, but I always respond. So if you ever want to ask me anything, please do. So I decided I was going to take some white gesso, and this is just kind of me dry brushing it across the background to kind of pull some of that image's forward and to kind of subtly push some of the vibrant color back a little bit. And again, this is just me playing with stuff. I had no idea how this was going to turn out. I had no idea if I'd like it in the end. I had no idea what I was doing, really. So I just kind of dry painted on this white gesso and kind of toned the background down. And then I added some perfect pearls on top, because there is never enough glitz and glitter in a card, in my opinion. I always have to add about 16 layers of it, and this card can attest to that. And I just kind of kept flicking that back on. And again, this will react with the water. So for my sentiment, or with the inks in the background, sorry. And for my sentiment, I brought in the Visible Image Believe in Unicorns stamp set, which has this beautiful sentiment in it that says, anything is possible if you believe. And I feel like this card almost kind of feels that way. It wasn't going to happen. I kind of thought I might have to scrap it. Now, you guys know I don't like doing that. But I was really sure I couldn't pull this together. And in the end, I think that I got a really neat, vibrant mixed media card, which is not what I set out to accomplish. However, I like it, so I'm okay with it. But I did end up trimming off about 1/4 of an inch from each side, which would give me about my 1/8 of an inch border around. And I do trim down that sentiment as well. I wanted to use a die, however, I didn't have a die that fit the size of that sentiment, so I kind of just trimmed it down into a rectangle. I don't think that I'm straight, to be honest with you. You guys will see it when I hold it up in the end. I don't think I cut it perfectly straight. At the end of the day, I don't know that that matters, honestly. I mean, unless you can tell, I don't really know that it matters. But to kind of help eat up some of that empty space around the sentiment there, I did decide to cut out some leaves that were in my stash. But I also did use mint cardstock. That's kind of the green that I use there. I like it. It's very spring. It's very bright and happy. And I thought that it really kind of went well with this card. So that's the color I chose to use. You literally could have used any bright, happy color and it would have looked really pretty. I just chose the mint green. And then here you can see that I have this leaf die from my stash there, and I'm just going to run it through my Gemini. I run it through 3 times. However, I only end up using 2 of the sprigs on this card, just because I couldn't make the 3rd one work in a design that I liked. So I ended up just using 2 of them. And I am using my Nuvo Deluxe glue to adhere this down flat. You saw me use my Misti to weigh down the panel. It was just because there was some bowing in the center due to all the moisture I had added, but it laid down flat perfectly and glued really nicely, so there was no concern there. And then I am going to just adhere it to the front of the card. And then here I've kind of laid out my leaves, and I really like how they're looking, so I brought in my Barely Art glue, the super fine tip, just to kind of put a small dab of glue under each leaf I need to weigh down. And then I just put an acrylic block on top of it. You can't really even see the glue, so I think that that turned out really cool. And the leaves are really just there to use some space. They're not really supposed to be eye-catching, which is why they're cut out of vellum. So they're not, I mean, they're an element, but they're not supposed to catch your eye like the background or the vibrant colors. So they're just a kind of a filler to kind of help that sentiment stand on its own. And I did coat the back in some foam tape to add a little more dimension to it, let it set itself apart a little bit more from the card base or the panel. And then I did adhere it down kind of to the lower right corner. That is my preference generally. And then I did have to bring in some pearls, because if you guys know me at all, you know how much I love pearls. They are just my jam right now. I'm in love with them, so I have to put them on everything. So I just brought in some white pearls. I'm going to hold this card up for you guys right now. You can kind of check it out. It doesn't do it justice, honestly, but I still love how it came out together. So I'd love to know what you think. Do you like this card? Would you have stopped and kind of changed gears differently at some point? Let me know. I'd love to hear. And I did take those little scraps and adhered them inside. So that is the card I have for you guys today. I'd love if you'd consider subscribing. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday. Leave me a like, leave me a comment, and I will see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye for now.